Hey guys, welcome to the walkthrough video for my new Prophet 5 sample library, Pro 5 collection. So for those of you who are new to my YouTube channel, don't know who I am, my name's Peter James. I'm a sound designer, keyboard player, I do a little producing, but the main thing I do is create sound libraries. I've had my patches feature on movies and TV series like The Walking Dead, The Purge, and my big claim to fame, The Bachelorette. Yeah, I know. I've had my stuff on other movies and other TV programs as well. So that's what I do. I create sound libraries and patches. I'm on the beta testing team for Spectrasonics, so I have my presets in Omnisphere 2's factory library as well. So yeah, that's what I do. I create sounds, and this is my new Prophet 5 sample library. So for that little intro video, I thought I'd play one of my favorite songs, Everything That's Right Place by Radiohead. Coincidentally, the Prophet 5 was the keyboard that they used for that song, so I thought it was fitting to intro this with a little rendition of that. Hope I did it justice anyway. So I'm going to show you how to install this thing and all the kind of boring stuff towards the end of this video, but for now I'm just going to go through and show you the layout, how it all works, demo some of the sounds. But if you want a full demo of every patch in this library, they're all up on multitracks. So just go there, check out the individual audio demos, because I'm not going to play through every single one in this walkthrough video. Okay, so let's get started. I'll show you the patches in here and kind of how it's laid out. So there's two versions. There's a low pass filter 1 version and a low pass filter 2. They're identical patches. The only difference is I swapped out the low pass filter. So for practical purposes, I prefer to use the low pass filter 1 for a smoother kind of low pass filter. It has a not as steep a slope as the low pass filter 2. So I'll use low pass filter 1 for pads and anything that I want a really smooth cutoff frequency sweep. For things like leads and something that I want a dramatic, really prominent cutoff frequency sweep, I'll use low pass filter 2. So I'm just going to show you the low pass filter 2 ones for now, but like I said, they're identical, just with a different filter swapped out. You'll also notice that if I go to a low pass filter 1 version, there's no resonance knob. That's because the low pass filter in Kontakt, the low pass filter 1 doesn't actually have a resonance knob. So if you want resonance, go to low pass filter 2. Okay, let's show you these patches. They're all multis. As you can see, let's go to a basic one first. Probably easier to explain it with this one. So you may or may not know that the Prophet 5 is actually a mono keyboard, but for this sample library, I sampled every patch twice. So that's why there's two for every patch in here. One's panned left, one's panned right. So we've got a stereo version of otherwise what would be a mono Prophet 5 keyboard. On top of that, I've sampled it through my two favorite Big Sky presets, completely wet, a cloud setting and an octave shimmer setting. And you can blend in as much or as little as you want of those sampled reverbs, or you can put your own reverb on it, however you want to use it. And the good thing is, like I said, they're 100% wet, so by muting these, you have a 100% dry, raw Prophet 5 sample. They were sampled through my classic API pre's. I love those pre's. Very vintage. It's actually what all the 80s keyboards would have been sampled through back in their day. There wouldn't have been the modern API that you see today. It would have been the classic API, because that company apparently was bought out by the people that own API now. So I wanted to sample it authentically through classic gear, and that's why I sampled it through the classic API pre's. The sample library was sampled at 48 kilohertz 24-bit. I sampled it how I want to use it, and the total library comes to about 17 gig. So I basically sampled every note. One of the patches is actually 6 times velocity sensitive to capture the filter. So yeah, I just captured it exactly how I'm going to use it live when I use it on my laptop. So that's my approach to sampling this. Sample it how I want to use it. Let's get on to some audio examples and show you kind of how it sounds. The vintage knob is a big part of the sound. I basically added a vintage knob that simulates random pitch variation, and I've actually mapped that to my nano controller that I got sitting in front of me, so I can have real-time control over that. The cutoff frequency is mapped to the low pass filter, but obviously you can unmap that or learn it to whatever you want for your setup. So let's start off with all waves version. Basically for this multi, I sampled every single waveform, the saw, the sine, the square, as well as cloud and shimmer versions for every single one. That way you can kind of blend in and make your own patch with this one, which is really cool. I've got the vintage knob mapped to this one, so I can add as much or little as I want. And what I'll do is I'll mute all of the reverb versions so you can hear just a dry version, crank up the vintage knob, and then you can kind of hear what it's doing to the tone. So you can hear there how the vintage knob is adding that random pitch variation to every patch. I don't like to use the vintage knob feature on the wet versions because it's already got modulation in the reverb. That's my personal preference, but you can use it if you want. So I'll show you the same thing again, just with the reverb added to it. So that's how that works with the vintage knob, cutoff frequency, res, everything. Let's go to another patch. Let's give you one where I did a basic pad and I sampled it with the low pass filter on, so you get the sound of the low pass filter. Some of them are completely open with the filter, some of them are sampled as I'd like them, kind of like a warm pad vibe. So here's a basic warm pad with some reverb. So like I showed you there, you can obviously blend the different type of reverbs to taste. So that's how that works. Let's show you the bright version of that. It's the filter up. What I might do is show you the low pass filter 1 because I prefer the low pass filter 1 for pads. So let's go here quickly, pull up the same one and show you what that filter sounds like. So you can hear there it's a lot smoother than the low pass filter 2. Let's move on to some other patches. These motion ones are some of my favorites, so I've given you kind of a few different versions of it. Actually, no, let's go for BEQ, and yes, I want to replace the other ones. So for this one, I actually sampled the Prophet 5 filter slowly opening up and closing, so you get this really nice kind of motion pad. The EQ version, I've actually EQ'd a little bit inside the back end of Kontakt, but there's a raw version if you don't want any kind of digital EQ on it. So here's this motion pad. Let's go down and show you the Oceans pad. So this one was actually used on Hillsong United's Ocean. It's the main warm pad for that. The original was actually an Omnisphere sample of a Prophet 5, but I decided because I got the Prophet 5, might as well make a full quality sample of it. And coincidentally, the Prophet 5 sample in Omnisphere was created with a Prophet 5 running through a Roland Dimension D. So I did the same for this. I ran it through a Roland Dimension D effect and created the same kind of vibe as the Omnisphere version. Okay, let's go down and get on to, I love this one actually. This is a lead sound. I'll show it to you with all the reverb, but obviously you can have it dry. This one is a really cool patch. It sounds almost identical to a Whirly, but it's actually a Prophet 5 sample. So I'll show it to you dry, and then I'll show it to you with some reverb on it too. I love that patch with a bit of reverb and cranking the vintage knob because it just gives you a really kind of dreamy, chorusy, whirly vibe. Let's go on to just one more. Like I said, all of these are up on multi-tracks if you want to hear examples of every single one. Let me see. Let's go with something with some delays and stuff on it. So here's a cool lead sound. There's a dry version. But I like using the one with effects. It's got delay and reverb built into the back end of Kontakt. So that's one of my favorite kind of lead pluck sounds in this collection. So one last thing before I go is if you want the reverbs, etc., to, let's say, not last as long, you want a shorter reverb or longer reverb, the workaround for that is just click on this spanner, go to the bottom section with it, which is the volume envelope, scroll till you get right to the end of this, grab this little square, move it whichever way you want. If you want a shorter reverb that way, obviously longer reverb that way. Then I suggest saving it as a preset, then going to the other one and just loading that one in. That way the reverbs will finish at the exact same time and it'll seem seamless. So anyway, that's the demo part of this walkthrough video. So yeah, thanks for watching and let's get on to how you install this library. So this product isn't a Native Instruments registered product, so it will not work in the free version of Kontakt. You have to own either Kontakt 5 or Kontakt 6, the full version. If you try to open it in the Kontakt player, it'll just show up in demo mode, so I just want to make that really clear. It's for the full version of Kontakt. Multitracks have a way of protecting their sample libraries. They put an inaudible watermark on audio files to prevent people from or try to prevent people from torrenting it and sharing it around. So they do that kind of thing. So instead of me registering it through Native Instruments and having to charge more for the library, decide to keep the price down, do it without registering it through Native Instruments. So I'm going to show you how to get the Prophet 5 sample library showing up in the tab here. It's a little bit of a pain because Native Instruments in their latest updates have taken away the add library feature. So the only way to do it is to do a little bit of a workaround. But you do not have to do this process. You can literally just go to Files, locate the sample product wherever you put it on your hard drive and do it this way. But if you want it to come up in your libraries tab with the image and how it looks here, you have to follow the following steps. So here we go. What you need to do, because they've taken off the add library, is you actually have to go back to an earlier version of Kontakt. So I think it's this one here. Yeah, what I do is I like to save the older version in my Applications Native Instruments Kontakt folder, just so I can go back to it, create a library, add it, and then go back to the latest version. That's what I like to do. You can do that if you want, but this is what you need to do. You need to go to an earlier version of Kontakt to add it in to the Kontakt tab. So first thing you need to do is just go onto the website, log into your account, go to My Account, then go to Product Serial Downloads. I'm going to skip over this part so you can't see all my serial numbers. And then at the bottom of that page, you'll see updates for legacy products. Check legacy updates. Type in Kontakt. There we go. Scroll down till you find Kontakt 5.6. I'm pretty sure that was the one. Let me see. Yeah, 5.5.6. So that one works. Earlier ones also work. So just download that for either Windows or Mac, and then install that. Once you've installed that, you'll notice there's a little add library tab at the top. Click on that. Once you've done that, go to the location of your sample library and literally point it to the Pro5 collection. And then once you hit add, it'll add it in there. The next thing you'll need to do is close Kontakt 5, go to native access. I won't go through this process, but you get the general idea. You just have to update to the latest version of Kontakt, because this library was created in the latest version of Kontakt 5, not the earlier version. You can also use it in Kontakt 6. And once you've updated it to the latest version, that add library button will go away, but it will stay there and you'll see it in 5 and 6. And that's how you do it. But like I said, you don't have to do that long process if you don't want to. You can just start playing the patches straight away by finding it in the files section. Okay, so the last thing I need to mention is there's two different versions of this product. There's a Windows version and a Mac version. Now they're basically identical. The only difference between the two is where the patches are looking for the samples. So if you use the Mac version and you use the installer, it'll put all the samples in a location where MainStage, Logic, and Kontakt can find them. If you're a Windows user, use the Windows one, obviously, and just put your samples in this folder here. It'll be empty by default, but once you've downloaded all the samples, just put them in there, and then this product will find them without having to search every time you load a patch in. Alternatively, if you want to put the samples in a different location, you can use the batch resave, and that will save all the patches to point to the different sample location. But that's basically how that all works. So there you go. That's the technical part of this walkthrough video. So yeah, once again, thanks for watching.